there's a bunch of serpents swimming around in this space that you don't know what it is, and you don't question it? No, I never thought to question it. I'm like, well, I'm here to tell you that's the 13th sign, dude. That's the serpent bearer.
Welcome to the very first episode of Pluto and Capricorn, Quantum True Sky Astrology with me, Chiron Phoenix. If you didn't know already, Pluto is actually in Capricorn right now. If you could look up at the sky with your naked eyes and see Pluto, you'd see it in the constellation or zodiac sign of Capricorn. Pluto moves really slow through the signs, and it hasn't actually been in Capricorn since about 1775. Do you remember what was going on around that time? Pluto symbolizes things like transformation, death and rebirth, and change. Capricorn relates to structure, organization, government, goals, and determination. It is also a deeply spiritual sign, though it has a little bit of a reserved side to it. Capricorn is known as the sea goat. It has the upper body of the hard-working goat and the lower body of a fish. Originally, though, Capricorn was made up of a unicorn and a crocodile, but we'll cover that more in a future episode. Right now, I'd like to tell you what this podcast is all about. Over the last few years, I've been researching and studying all kinds of different esoteric and occult philosophies. Things like tarot, ufology, astrology, Buddhism, Gnosticism, alchemy, Hermeticism, Cometicism, and the principles of Ma'at, numerology, sacred geometry, quantum physics, and more. In all this research, I found many similarities and also had my own awakening experience that led me to discovering True Sky Astrology. Learning all about this real-time and astronomically accurate system helped me understand myself and others much better. I had found a major disconnect with the real sky, and potentially a real effort to keep a very important truth from the world. It is this discovery that was the catalyst for this podcast. I also plan on bringing on some people that get into different esoteric and occult practices like Reiki, shadow workers, light workers, you name it. With that being said, I want to thank you for being here. Your support of this show is very much appreciated and crucial to getting this information out to the public. We're living in a time of significant change, and there are many things that can help us be the change we want to see in the world. So in this very first episode, we're going to dive right into the deep water and reveal a truth that has been hidden from the world and explore what it's all about. I had the privilege of speaking with Isaac Rodriguez, also known as Captain Ike, for about 2 hours. Ike is an astrophotographer, a sailor, and a sidereal astrologer. He teaches astrology and does personal readings. You can also see him in the movie Code 12 by Melissa Tittle, where he reveals what his research in Egypt uncovered. You can find all the links for Isaac in the show notes. Now, without further ado, here is Isaac Rodriguez on Pluto in Capricorn.
Precession, that's a good point. I mean, we have the Earth tilted at this angle, 23.5 to the ecliptic. So as we spin around the sun, this is where we get the summer when the north is pointing, and then when it goes this way, north is the North Pole is pointing more away, so the northern hemisphere is colder, and when we swing around, so the equinox and the solstices are the equal points. And then we come around like this again, that's when it's hotter in the summer. So that's the basic angle of the Earth. But what most people are unaware of with this when it comes to astrology is that there's a whole other movement called precession of the equinox, which it's from our position, we're seeing the zodiac moving backwards. And it's really slow. It's 1 degree every 72 years. So within our lifetime, we won't even see it move 1 degree. And this is the issue because the ancients knew of this. They call it the Great Year. And a lot of their megalithic structures are built according to these time frames when on the spring equinox it was almost like the measuring time. You know, what age are we in? Look to the east on the spring equinox, and whatever constellation is rising with the sun or right before the sun, that's the age that we're in. So that was how we kept track of the Great Year. And this is also why tropical astrology is out of alignment with the sky, because you know, 2,000 years ago, Aries was on the spring equinox on sunrise, and then after 2,000 years, 1 degree every 72 years, now we're looking at a 24 degrees difference. And so now we have Pisces on rising on spring equinox. So we're in the age of Pisces. And then in about, that's all debatable because of, for whatever reason, but in about 400 years or so, Aquarius will be rising at that position. And so we'll be in the age of Aquarius. And then we keep on going. This is the Great Year. So that's
right. So it's precession because it's moving forward through
backwards.
The signs. So it's like going from like Pisces, Aquarius. So precession. So it's going to the previous sign as time goes on. So we're going from Pisces to Aquarius, then it'll be Capricorn, Sagittarius, and so on. So that means then, so right now, like you're saying, on the spring equinox, we see Pisces at the horizon. So that means before that, at some point, we would have seen Aries. But currently we see Pisces. So when was that we would have seen Aries on the spring equinox at sunrise?
That was, it was the beginning of our age of Pisces. So a lot of people connect it with the AD point. But if you look it up online, there's like a statement that says 221 AD, Claudius Ptolemy matched the 2 zodiacs or whatever it was, so that was the start. But the more and more you look, it's the beginning of the age of Pisces, which was the birth of Christ. That's when the 0 point. And there's symbolism in that, in a lot of the Jewish tradition. You'll see the ram's head and the blowing of the ram, and then there's images of the ending of Taurus killing the bull, which is ending. It's basically just ending that age and moving into Aries. So you see a lot of that happening, and then way before that, when we're looking at archaeoastronomy, everyone knows about the whole Sphinx facing east, the lion head built in the age of Leo. That's how it was done, right? So that's kind of what they did. I was in Egypt for a while, and I saw a lot of the temples were aligned with Sirius rising. So one point they're aligned with either the North Star or one of the stars of the Dipper. Fecta is one of them. Mizar is another one, I think. And then behind is Sirius. And then they would show those alignments on the cornerstones. And then from that, you can tell when the temples were built. So Dendera Temple is built like that. So it's basically all of that. And then there's a book, there's a great book that everyone should have. I was just talking about it last night at this event. Secret Architecture of Our Nation's Capital. And it's the whole Freemason Knights Templar connection of the builders of Washington, D.C. And what I found was interesting, I don't know if this is going to be off topic or not, but it was built Freemasons. It was built with basically the foundation of 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 temple building learned in Egypt. So the Freemasons were temple builders. Their roots were in Egypt. And you start reading this book and you see that the obelisks, the big monument,
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
that's
Right.
that's an obelisk made out of piezoelectric crystal. It's an antenna. So it's the whole Geb story and the sky goddess Mother Nut story where they merge. Then there's stories of different monuments built when either Sirius was rising, or Virgo was rising, or Venus was in a certain position. So now we're looking at all this goddess energy that was harnessed with the building of Washington, D.C. So I took a trip there and I kind of checked all this out. And I went to the Freemason Lodge there. It's called you can look it all up and you'll see it's called the House of Temple. And right as soon as you get there, I was like, no way. There's two sphinxes right in front of this temple. And they don't have lion's heads, they have Virgo heads, goddess
Oh,
heads.
that's interesting.
And then also, the chest of one is the Sky Mother Goddess. So this is the Sky Mother Goddess is the image that you see on all the lids of the sarcophagus. So basically when you're buried. And if you can look, everybody can look all this up. This is not me talking. This is you can look on the bottom of the lids. They all have a Sky Mother Goddess like this. And the temples have that too on the ceilings. And Nut, it's Nut. But that image was on the chest of one of the sphinxes. And on the other one, the Ankh symbol. And this is
Really?
Washington. Yeah.
In Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that makes a lot of sense because, of course, if I remember right, Freemasonry was it came out of Egypt with like the lost knowledge or a secret knowledge of how to build and how to align structures to the cardinal directions and the stars and all kinds of stuff like that. Does that sound right?
Yeah. Now here's something really interesting because this all ties into, we're talking about the stars and sidereal astrology. So we work with the 13th sign, which is like, I think humans are programmed to just like attack you when it comes to the 13th sign. This is like the matrix energy, right? But so I found the connection. So the architect of Washington, D.C., his name is Benjamin Banneker. So when Washington, D.C. was born, he was black. He was born, his father was a freed slave. I mean, we know America, you don't hire, like, during that time, you don't commission a freed son of a freed slave to build your nation when your nation was run on white supremacy and slavery. So who is this guy? How did he come and get this commission to be the architect of our nation's capital? Benjamin Banneker. So I studied a little bit, and the only thing I can come up with is he's the reincarnation of Imhotep, which was the original builder of the Saqqara pyramid complex. First pyramid of Egypt was the step pyramid, Imhotep. And Imhotep is a direct connection to Asclepius. Asclepius is a direct connection to Ophiuchus, which is the 13th zodiac sign.
Very interesting. So, and Asclepius was the Greek version. Is that correct? So probably translated somehow from the Imhotep original to Asclepius the Greek when the Greeks came to Egypt and whatever they did.
Exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. They have the same, the same image as the staff with the serpents, two serpents around, which is the modern day symbol of medicine right now. It's the staff.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Ophiuchus is the holder, the serpent bearer of these two serpents. So that's Asclepius. And even in the Saqqara complex, there's something called the Asclepion. and it's the Greek gods. So this is an addition to that. But if you read a book by Robert Bauval called Imhotep the African, he lays it out like never before. And you realize like Imhotep built the Saqqara complex to mirror. It was his, he called this the observatory. He was known as the chief of observers. So he was a sidereal astrologer. He was known to observe the movement of the stars, and it was specifically quoted, not of the sun, of the stars. So which means sidereal, because tropical is the movement of the sun through the seasons. So it gets deep. Yeah.
That gets really deep. So he essentially was continuing on the hermetic or actually really Kemetic sciences of watching and seeing, and then putting down the whole as above, so below, the second law. So
that was what the complex was. The Saqqara complex was as above, so below. His sacred court, so to speak.
Interesting. So he's literally taking what he's observing as the observer in the sky and creating it there on the ground. And of course, when that was, I don't know if we really know for sure, because that was definitely a long, long time ago.
Yeah, there was dates. I think, I get my dates all screwed up. 2600 BC or 26th century. I'm just like, but it's you can easily look it up. He was like, born whenever, and also the story of Imhotep. That's what I was forgetting to make that connection. Is it's the same story of who is this guy? He's born to just normal parents. I think it was like normal townspeople, farmers. So it's the same story, and it goes pretty much all the cultures. When you start looking at their stories, it's basically a normal person lives in accordance to Ma'at, which is Ma'at is the Egyptian story, the goddess who waves the heart against a feather. But basically, Ma'at means cosmic balance and order. And there's 42 laws of Ma'at. And the 10 Commandments literally come directly from 42 laws of Ma'at. So,
interesting how that connects.
Yeah, this is like boom, like what? So the story is, and it's everywhere. Here's a common person. Where did he come from? But somehow he's living in Ma'at, or he's living according to the scriptures or to the laws, or in balance. He becomes so great that he starts to lead and teach. And even after his death, he becomes deified and he becomes a god. So that's Imhotep. Imhotep, that's his story. He there's the cult of Imhotep, which is he's deified, and he became a god after his death, born to normal parents. Same thing is the same story as Christ, the Christ consciousness energy. This is all about harnessing this energy that comes from this galactic center. This is where the 13th zodiac sign is, in the galactic center. So these are all people who are born as normal people, but somehow can become attuned to this area of the sky in the galactic center, which is where the 13th zodiac sign is, follow those laws, those ordinances of handling the serpents, serpent energy, medicine, healing, all of that, resurrection, and then becoming deified later on in life. So yeah, Imhotep was deified like 2,000 years after his birth, after his death. Same thing as the Christ. 2,000 years, we're still following this guy. Nobody ever met him.
Very interesting. So in Imhotep, of course, it was kind of made into, a Hollywoodized version, but that's who it was in the Mummy movies, right? Is Imhotep?
Yeah,
I mean,
that
obviously
is so
not, factual, but still kind of capturing a little bit of like the greatness of him, but just not in an accurate way, it seems.
This is exactly the problem. You go and you tell people Imhotep, whatever, and they're like, "Oh, the mummy. Oh, he was he was like a terrible god," and like, no, not at all. You read up on Imhotep. It's like, first of all, just like any of these deities that have been deified, which we kind of know as starseeds, they ascended. We can't find their bodies. So why can we not find Imhotep's body? In the Saqqara complex, that's his complex. Why can't we find him? Why can't we find Christ? Why can't we find Quetzalcoatl? Where's Viracocha? He was supposed to be a normal man with a beard that taught the ways of resurrection as well, and how to survive on Earth. Where is this guy?
Yeah,
right?
that's interesting. Yeah, because there is no known finding of any of those remains at all. It's just all it is stories that seem to be like myth now. But obviously, these were real people. There's real recorded history of their existence and their teachings and things they did. So that's interesting. So now with Saqqara, does Saqqara itself show any evidence of using like the knowledge of precession built into it?
A few things that I saw which were really interesting was it's called, I hope I don't botch the name. It was built for King Joseph. That's the story. So King Joseph is statue of him is behind. And let me try to get this right. I think it's facing north. It's called a Serdab. It's a little house that his statue is in. And what I read in Robert Bauval's book, which was really interesting, was that, and I have photos of it. If you go through the Facebook group, you'll see photos. You can see a real life statue of him and his eyes, and there's two holes in this granite box. And you look in the holes and you see eyes looking at you. And Robert Bauval made a measurement of the angle of those holes looking into the sky. It's 13 degrees.
What's the chances of that?
I know, right? So that's one thing I saw. Another thing that was really interesting that it will probably never get accepted. It'll just be said as coincidence, but I have photos of it. So they closed Saqqara down for, I think, 13 or 14 years. What are the odds of that? 13 years, 14 years. Okay. Then they rebuilt the step pyramid. They refaced it. They did whatever they did. And one of the things I'll tell you that I spent 3 months in Egypt, and it takes a while for people to catch on to this. And when you do, you realize it. But all the people that you see running the temples and guarding the temples in Egypt, it's actually, and there's nothing wrong with religion or whatever, but they're not ancient Egyptian descendants. They're Arab Muslim occupants of Egypt that are Egyptian Arabs.
Totally.
So,
right.
So that's not clear to a lot of people. And it becomes clear as you spend more time there that they don't really worship Isis and Osiris, and they don't care about Imhotep. They don't really. So towards the end of my journey, I started to get a little bit disappointed because I'm like, wait a second. This whole sacred land is hijacked right now. And no one even knows that they're the hijackers, or they're just doing their jobs. And I'm just like, are there even any ancient Egyptian descendants here guarding these temples? So I was like, my last day, I was a little like, oh my God, this is the conclusion of my trip. Like, wow, this is so screwed up. So I said, you gotta show me a sign. Show me a sign. So I go to Saqqara again on my last day, and I'm totally wiped out. I'm exhausted. And I'm staring, and I didn't see this on the first time I was there. I was there on my second day of Egypt. But now my last day. And I'm looking right at the step pyramid, right from the court, right there when you walk in. And I studied enough to know what the Hotep symbol means. Imhotep symbol looks like the Libra symbol. And the hieroglyph means Hotep, means peace. Imhotep's name is I come in peace. Just like the Hopi Indians mean people of peace and hope.
Ooh, quite
right?
Interesting. That's my state here. That's where I'm at. And the Hopi are here.
Yeah, people of peace. Yeah, and the Hotep symbol is used as what they call the prayer table or the offering table. It's a Hotep symbol. So I kind of learned all this as I was going, and I'm like, oh, it all makes sense. Imhotep, I come in peace. I am a man of peace, and everything. So right there on that pyramid, they laid the brick, newly laid brick, but somehow the coloration differences of the brick was laid out to make a Hotep symbol right on the step pyramid. And I can share the image. I don't know if you want it when you kind of edit this. It's like boom, Hotep symbol in a different gradient color.
Wow.
Clear. And I just dropped. I'm like, boom, okay. I don't have all the answers now. I'm going home. I'll be back, but thank you. And that's when I left. So
So that is super interesting, and I love that you brought up the whole concept of like these are not the original people like of this land, because I think that's something that gets so overlooked.
yeah,
It kind of reminds me a little bit of like how the U.S. here is
yeah,
American, but it's like it's not really American. Like
yeah,
we
yeah,
like we're the foreigners here.
yeah. We're the foreigners. Yeah,
Right. But it's become completely like westernized, Americanized, even though
mhm,
there's an indigenous native people to this land that still do live here. Like they're
yeah,
still here. Whereas it's so crazy because I just finished reading that book. I think I sent you a copy or a link
yeah,
of that book that I was reading. And I was just blown away because I've had this feeling for a long time. Like I think that there's something off about the people that are in Egypt, and knowing that okay, Egypt's not the original name, that
yeah,
it was actually Kemet. Like okay, so that's like where alchemy came from, and like the word chemical, even and
yeah,
chemistry,
yeah,
like that was
yeah.
all science of Kemet. And then going into this book further, he's uh he's from the author is from Senegal, so he's Senegalese, and he
Mm-hmm.
was a historian and physicist, and he went to university and college to get his degree, and he did all this research and was able to like prove through his research that Egypt originally, as Kemet, was founded by sub-Saharan
Mm-hmm.
Africans,
Mm-hmm.
and that over time they basically, because again they were like people of peace and they
Mm-hmm.
weren't warring people, they were easily conquered
Yeah,
and multiple times conquered. People kept
yeah,
coming in because they originally came for their knowledge and to learn from them and to find things out and to be able to go to these mystery schools. And
exactly
then the
right.
rest of the world kind of heard about it and was like, whoa, we need to
Yeah,
go in and like get this knowledge and take this information and occupy it.
yeah.
Sounds kind of like the same thing that, happens all around the world from these countries.
Yeah, that's what, yeah, I spent, we're doing another trip in Egypt and we're going to bring in a group. We're specifically starting the way the ancients started their Nile initiation journey. That started in way down in Abu Simbel, the beginning of the Egyptian Nile. And it's on the border of of Sudan, Nubian. And they're supposed to be. I want to try to go, but I got to figure out how bad the wars are there. But within less than 40 miles away is the Sudanese border, and you can go right into the desert and check out those pyramids, which are just like Egypt. But from my understanding is that the Egyptian Nile journey was an initiate journey that went the other way, which most people go. It went from Abu Simbel all the way, ended up in Cairo in the pyramids. And then I don't know how Alexandria fit in because that was more of a Greek. That was there's something that's I forget where I read it, but it was of Egypt, but it wasn't Egypt. That's what they quoted as. But that was
Sure.
part of the journey.
So am I getting this confused, or was Alexandria what was originally Heliopolis, or was that a different place?
That's a good question because there were so many different names that got switched around because I remember being in Memphis and they called that Heliopolis. So
That makes
I got
sense. Okay, so maybe Memphis was what Heliopolis was.
yeah, so I got confused because then I also heard the same thing about Alexandria's Heliopolis. So I think, and I could be totally mistaken because sometimes I don't focus on a lot of things because I'm bent on the astrology connection. So I'm like Ptolemy this, Ptolemy that. I don't fucking know. Like I'm just, but I think when they moved the capitals, they call those capitals Heliopolis, meaning city of the sun. So
Right, right.
that's what I think, and maybe somebody will watch this and will correct this, or yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone listening, if you know
yeah, yeah,
where
yeah,
Heliopolis was, like,
yeah,
please, like, let me know,
yeah,
because yeah, that's one thing I've
yeah,
always kind of wondered, like, okay, what was actually Heliopolis? And
yeah,
that also would have been a Greek name for it, or Latin,
yeah,
one of the two.
yeah,
You know, Helio being sun and Polis being city. So
yeah,
that would have
exactly.
been a later name,
Yeah,
but you know, originally a name, and I think they referred to it as basically the city where like Ra lives or
exactly.
something like that.
Yeah, The central, yeah, yeah. It's into the whole. I don't know, like what you want to jump on next, but I was reviewing my notes with when you asked about Ptolemy and you know the whole Ptolemy story is way before Claudius Ptolemy of like what is it 200 or 100 AD or whatever he's from.
Yeah, something like that.
This is from way BC, and and I just reviewed my notes because I remember being surprised about this, but it's basically they were referred to as the Ptolemies or the Ptolemaic school, mystery schools. So, and they were basically, my understanding, they were Greek philosophers, but there was 13 of them.
What's the chances of that?
Yeah. And then I don't know where it fits in, but Cleopatra was the last, which was a goddess, which, because, we're dealing, that's another thing we should jump into too. We're dealing with the fallen goddess energies. That's something that I've been picking up on a lot. And I picked up on gnosis. You know about gnosis, Gnostic,
Yeah,
the Nag
Gnosticism,
Hammadi.
absolutely.
So
Sure,
the
right.
Nag Hammadi library was found in Egypt. I think 1945 is the story, and it was supposed to be these hidden. Guess how many books?
13.
13 books hidden that were supposed to be the secret teachings of the mystical Christianity, which is the Gnostic, and it
That makes
tells a
sense.
story. Yeah, it tells a story of a place called the Pleroma, which is where the divine. It's called the Pleroma, which is where divinity comes from to become embodied on earth. This is where the Christos comes from. This is where Sophia comes from. So it's like, okay, where is this Pleroma? You start looking, figure it out. The Pleroma is in the galactic center. This is
Interesting. Very interesting.
exactly where the Mayas say the crossing of the two worlds, where our divine teachers come from. So again, everything points back to where the 13th sign is, written on 13 books. Then you look at the Ptolemaic period, 13 rulers. The last one is Cleopatra, feminine. You look at the building of Washington, D.C., it's all in alignment with Virgo and goddess energy. But yet we have this patriarch force ruling our age of Pisces. So I have questions. I don't have the answers. I have questions. All this energy is put into this goddess feminine energy, but where is their platform to lead? Where is their leadership? Because it's dominating by patriarch. So
Wild.
a lot of questions.
Wild. Yeah, a
Yeah,
lot of questions.
yeah.
Because that is one of the things that like I've been kind of picking up on too, is that it seems like I made a post about it the other day. It seems like the gears are turning in the background to
Mhm.
bring that divine feminine energy back
Yeah,
into the foreground and be the
yeah,
position it once was. So I
yeah,
don't know if you've seen that. I know you've mentioned some stuff to me about some of the work you're doing on like this Virgo energy and Virgo rising and things like that. So
yeah.
I'm curious if you're able to talk about that, or if you guys are kind of waiting till you get more stuff done on that. If you can, like that'd be great to hear. But if not, like I totally get it. If you're doing
Yeah, yeah.
work on that, like it makes
No,
sense.
no, yeah, wait. I mean, it's an ongoing process, but it's like, I mean, all through Egypt, the goddess is worshipped, and that's literally where you get the wigs in the British or the Parliament court system or whatever you want to call it. It comes from
Totally, it makes.
Yeah, it comes from when the male wears a wig and is held by the feminine. It's a sign that he is initiated to the cosmic laws of balance. He knows. So respect him in the man with the wig. And then of course you give it to the British. I don't know what the hell that shit became, but it's like destroyed. It's like I don't know what it is. But that's what it was supposed to be. And you see it all through Egypt. You point out the goddess being respected. And then you start to see how it degrades with the Roman Catholics coming in. You start to see that was big time in Phila Temple, the Isis Temple on Phila Island. Huge, like terribly, it was terrible. Like the Christian, the Catholic cross, like stamped right above Ankh symbols, like no regard for anything Egyptian, just like boom, we have the cross right on top of your thing. And it is pretty bad. So I have a lot of questions of why all this emphasis on the goddess energy and then it's suppressed, but I don't know what's going on. I have questions, man, you know?
So that's really really interesting because actually in that book where this guy is talking about, it's called The African Origins of Civilization,
Yeah, I have
and
to read it. You don't.
he's talking about how when they were there, that was their focus. Their focus was on the goddess, was on the divine feminine, on the mother energy. That was what they
Yeah,
worshiped. That's what they
yeah,
saw as their creator,
yeah,
was the feminine energy, the
yeah,
mother. You know,
yeah,
and then like even Africa is still called the motherland.
yeah, the
Like
motherland, yeah,
it's the motherland. Like
yeah,
everyone knows that's what it is. And like Earth is Mother Earth. Like
yeah,
it's that mother energy, that divine feminine.
yeah,
And he does a really good job of explaining how that was there. And then
mhm,
he does go into a little bit of like you were just talking about, like why that got squashed and what
mhm,
happened to that and why they did that and then how
mhm.
it was lost over time. Very interesting. So it's interesting to me that you were able to see that there actually in person and see that that had happened. And it's
Yeah,
like, yeah,
it's
what's going on there?
mhm, yeah, yeah, it's interesting. And now what's going on is you have the South Node in Virgo. If you do some work and you kind of start tracing Virgo, you connect it instantly to Isis. You start to see images of Isis with Horus on her lap, on the nipple. That's a famous image. And then a lot of people will put Mary and Jesus on the lap. They put it together. See, this is the same story. So
So kind of those archetypes and like through symbology, it's kind of
yeah,
carried on. And different cultures show that in different ways. I'm assuming that you see that in multiple different places.
and it's in the stars because that image that you see there, and you want to translate it to the stars, that's literally Horus, the sun, and Sirius, the star, which marks the new year of Egypt when they have the heliocal rising and they rise together. Sun, sun and mother rise together.
Okay, interesting. So that was what, like 2 weeks ago, roughly?
That was, yeah, those dates are so getting so confused. Some people are pinning it with this Lions Gate, which makes sense because I don't know, I did it on the Facebook group. I showed, do even though on the astrology chart they show separated, but because of declination, meaning like it's really southeast, you can see Sirius, and then the east, you see the sun. They're kind of, because of the curvature, they kind of look like they're rising together. But their date, from my understanding, in Egypt is July 26th. So if you look at Stellarium and you do July 26th, they're like right on the horizon together. So I remember seeing that's the right date. But then a lot of New Age stuff is circulating about the Lions Gate. So I'm like, oh,
Right. So that was what I had seen too, because I had checked it on Stellarium. I'm like, I'm seeing July 25th, 26th, like that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
day. But then again, Precession, if you go back in time, you can
Oh
see
no,
that that date actually earlier.
you got to look at that. I haven't looked at that, but there's something that's interesting with that star. That's what I had a long conversation with because we're talking about Precession too with Walter Cruttenden, who wrote The Lost Star, and then he has a movie called The Great Year. I think you can get it on YouTube. It's great. And the reason why they have Sirius is that because we're in a binary system with Sirius, that it's not precession. It's not precessing. So I kind of haven't really looked so much into it, but he told me, yeah, that will always rise. They'll always rise together. And I don't know if it's in a different constellation, maybe because precession, but that star will always rise with the sun on that date. That's what he told me. So
Very interesting. Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that too and find that movie because that's
yeah.
really interesting. Because if you think about the seasons and the
Mm-hmm.
time of those seasons, obviously the seasons change a little bit because again that tilt and we're moving along the path in the great year. So I was just telling somebody last night, I was explaining that to him. I was like, so in like 13,000 years,
Mm-hmm.
basically, the June, July, August in the northern hemisphere will be winter,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like because
right.
the seasons will flip. Like
Yeah,
so, it's and we go through like a great year. We even have a springtime
yeah. Mm-hmm.
where winter is going to be where we typically have the fall equinox. Like that's going to be winter at some point as we move along that path in the great year. But so I was saying like, okay, so that is something that actually does change, and we can see that. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
wondering if that maybe has some kind of a change based off of that, where it was, say 6,000 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
that positioning of that happening would have been a little bit of a different season. So I
Yeah.
think that that's moving closer and closer to the fall equinox. Because originally they would have used that heliacal rising to tell them when the monsoon floods were coming,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is which is usually the beginning of July is when those floods start coming into the Nile back when they used to have flood before the Aswan Dam was built.
Right. Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think it's along there. Yeah, I remember doing you can do it in Stellarium. You can figure out the you can figure out the equinox points and the risings and the vernal equinox. You can there's a video on it and the guy shows you how when you get there's a way to do it and you can see that it goes back like spring equinox like 10,000 BC if I'm not mistaken was in July I think or June. I remember looking at it and being like, "Oh, wow, I get it now." And this is yeah. So,
Yeah, it totally makes sense because yeah, those seasons would change them like that. So
yeah.
then that makes me think that yeah, okay, so that heliacal rising is probably moving closer to like a different time period, like a different like it's probably moving closer to August now.
Yeah, that's something to get to look at. We should look at that. Yeah, it's a good point you have. But that's how they mark that was their year. And then there's some information that circulates that we're actually in a trinary system, 3 stars, which is why the Mayan observe the Sun Pleiades conjunction. That's what they do with their pyramids. So on May 26th is when their pyramids are lining up with Pleiades and Sun conjunction.
Okay, so would that be like Teotihuacan? Is that the ones?
Teotihuacan, oh my God, what's the big one that's with the snake, Chichen
Chichen
Itza.
Itza? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's a great book by John Major Jenkins. It's called Maya Cosmogenesis 2012, and he does say like certain time periods. It's in the archaeoastronomy that certain pyramids are used to observe this conjunction at a certain time. So Chichen Itza is used to observe the Mayan New Year now and during our age. But before that, I think it was Teotihuacan was used like well, I forget the number of years, but back then that was aligned with place because of this movement of precession. You're figuring out, okay, we're calculating this great year. At, during these times, we're going to see this conjunction in this constellation, and then that means during the 2000 years we're going to see the conjunction here. So that means we're on track. That's the measurement system. Because if you think about it, the precessional cycle it's within one lifetime. It's the stars will precess within a half of a finger. So if you're not doing major timekeeping, lineage keeping, is it raining? I don't know. If you're not doing like proper lineage wisdom sharing, no one is going to track precession. I mean, maybe are your kids going to track precession? My kid's not going to
Right.
track precession.
No, probably not. And you wouldn't really see it
Yeah.
in a lifetime. I mean, unless you're really, really
Yeah.
observing, like Imhotep, the observer,
Yeah.
and really watching it, you'd have to
Yeah.
really watch it or have extremely precise instruments to measure it.
That's what these temples were. That's what these pyramids were. These were the precision. This was precision. That where where was a religion. It was a star religion. It was passed on. This is why this is religious. Religion is so hijacked right now that it's basically crowd control. But this was religion back then was worship of the stars, wisdom keeper, timekeepers that get passed on to generations. And this was what religion was. It wasn't what it
So,
is now.
so essentially, astrology was the original
Yeah.
religion, if you want to call it religion,
Yeah.
or just a way of understanding people's place in the universe and where we were at and where we were going and what was happening. And that makes a lot of sense because
Yeah.
that has connections again, as above, so below.
Yeah.
It's what is.
Yeah. There's many
know,
many people that make that connection that if you read the Bible a certain way, you'll see it's an astrology book.
and one of the things I've heard in the Bible, it says on earth as it is in heaven.
Yeah.
To me, it sounds like as above, so below.
Yeah. There's literally one thing that I quote in Code 12, that movie I'm in, that I show a Bible verse and I show a verse from the Hermetica from the conversation with Thoth in the tomb. The tomb is God. And God, a tomb says, there's a conversation. It's a short book. Everyone should have this book, the Hermetica. It's like you read it in half a day. And it's the chapter called the Zodiac and Destiny. And the gods, the planets, are having conversation with the tomb. And Thoth is saying, hey, the gods are saying that, what are you going to do about these humans? Because if you allow them to step into their full power, we won't be able to control them. They'll ask too many questions. They'll know too much. And the tomb replied, he goes, don't worry, I will build a mechanism to control them from birth to life. I'll control their fate. And this mechanism is going to be called, it's going to be in the star, it's going to be in the sky, and it's called the zodiac. So
Interesting.
yeah.
So he's saying that basically going to use that to essentially keep our time and keep our archetypes kind of locked into a certain
measurable
way of
system.
being.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So then that's one thing. So then then you do a cross reference to Job 38, 31, 38, 32. So it talks about can you bind the chains of the Pleiades or loose the bands of Orion? So meaning can you loosen their grip on you? Can you loosen those chains that Orion and the Pleiades has on you? Then there's also another, I forget exactly how it is, but it's like the sweet influence of the Pleiades. Like, can you, something about that. But then it gets into saying, do you know the ordinances of heaven, meaning the way the heavens move? Do you know you need to learn the Mazzaroth in order to establish your dominion on earth? And you look up Mazzaroth. Jordan Maxwell, I picked this up when he was doing the talk, and I was like, you clearly look it up. Mazzaroth in the Bible dictionary is the zodiac. So what is he saying? Do you know how it moves? You need to learn how the zodiac works if you want to establish your dominion here. If you want to be in control of your life, you need to know how this all moves. Right? And then you read the tomb, and the tomb says, I'm going to make a zodiac to control you. So now when you look at it that way, actually God, so-called, in the Bible is actually telling you hey, learn this so you don't get controlled. You be a dominion of your own self, not of what, So I pick that up and I go, oh, that's a problem. Then I start looking at the zodiac, and if you look at the zodiac a certain way, kind of pull out, you can even do it on Prometheus. Zoom out on Prometheus if you have the sky version on it. You see that the zodiac belt is actually a band or belt around Earth. And then if you use your imagination a little bit, you realize everything is energy, everything's vibration, everything's connected. Now we have a belt around Earth. Where else have we heard of a belt around a star or an energy center? We heard about it. Do you know what I'm getting at?
I have a feeling, but expound on that. I'm curious.
It's the whole concept of a Dyson sphere.
Oh yeah, right.
That model is what they're saying is, if we want to find advanced civilization beyond us, we want to search for Dyson spheres. So we want to find stars that have a lot of dips. Remember we found something like that? I think they called it the wow factor because it was major dips.
Right.
That would be an indication that that star is dipping its light, means something is going around it pretty fast. So they said that is a clear indicator that there's Dyson spheres around that star. And what is a Dyson sphere? It's basically multiple or one band around a star, and that band is basically a solar panels or high tech, advanced solar, harvesting solar energy from that star, which will then somehow we have a way to extract that energy to be able to use on the planet. That's a Dyson sphere. So they show it as multiple rings around a star. This is exactly what we're seeing with the zodiac belt. It's a ring. Who knows what other rings are being used, but that's clearly a ring around us. And what's to say that it's not harvesting our energy or connected to our energy and managing our energy?
Right.
Which is why the Bible says, know that thing.
Yeah, like you got to know that thing. Yeah, right. And it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you said, and everything is connected, everything is energy, everything is vibration. That's another thing that makes me think of people that say, like astrology can't be real, like these planets and these stars can't have an effect, and I just quantum energy. Think of quantum physics. Think of entanglement. Like it doesn't matter how far away something is, the effect can be beyond light speed. Totally. So that's one of the things that's like, it's all connected. It's all one big system. There is no disconnect. Like that's amazing. So another one of the things that you just brought up that made me start thinking, because this is something I've kind of started including because I'm looking at like the houses of the moon, and I started thinking about, you mentioned Orion in there and Pleiades and kind of that enticing of that. And it made me start thinking like, okay, so is like Orion the symbol of like earthly human, like earthly man? Because then directly across from that in the zodiac is Ophiuchus, the resurrected, like the broke away from the material type thing. So does that make sense?
Yeah, Orion is one interesting constellation. It's that constellation is what turned me into who I am today. And it was that nebula. It turned me into an astrophotographer. It turned me into a sidereal astrologer, because I heard that conversation, what you just said, that I am where, this is where you come from. And I'm like, wait, what is that? This is where man comes from. And science clearly says that the Orion Nebula, M42, which is that nebula right where the sword is, it's birthing stars. It's a stellar nursery. It's birthing stars and spitting them out at such a rapid rate that there's no explanation for it.
That's really interesting. That's really interesting. Now, is that M42? Is that the most recent? Was in that most recent post that you were talking about?
Yeah, with John Lamlash. Yeah, M42. Yeah, and I did, I was on some plant medicine. I just ended a journey. I was clear, but I went out. I said, go out. Your journey's over with this medicine. You got to go out. And I was like, okay. And I was totally fine. I was walking and I start looking and the stars start talking to me. I'm like, okay, I'm, this is crazy. And every time I looked at Orion, it was like letting me know the origins of humanity from that space. And some of it was a little dark. There was a lot of it came up for me in the Hermetica, which made sense, but there was like an imprisonment energy going on there, and couldn't understand it. I saw transportation going on. I saw major human transportation going on, and there is also something in Hermetica that says that there are some souls that they don't want to break away from the heavenly realm, the beauty, but they have to because the soul contracts, they have to come to earth and they have to do whatever has to be done on earth in order to be on track with their soul contract. So in the Hermetica, it says that that as one of the deaths. I don't know if you notice, if you ever hear me talk, a lot of times when I talk about the Hermetica and I say a tune controls you from death to life, I always say death to life first. I always confuse death to life, but it's really life to death on earth because it's considered that actually coming to earth is a form of death. And that's in the Hermetica too. There's 3 deaths.
That
One of
makes
the
a lot of
deaths,
sense.
yeah, one of the deaths is what was just talking about is you're this beautiful, timeless consciousness and playing in the sphere of the ninth sphere of the angels and the stars with Isis and Osiris and all of that heavenly energy. And all of a sudden you have to fulfill your contract. And they have to shove you into a body. And then when they shove you into this body, that's when they say the moaning and the crying of these, it sounds like animals being captured. And that's kind of what I saw. It's like these these entities being captured and just being shoved into these little vessels and getting shot down to earth. And it's like, where did they come from? The Orion Nebula.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So that makes a whole lot of sense, and that does really sound a lot like that.
Mhm.
What was it in Job that you're
Yeah,
talking about,
yeah,
where it
right.
says separating from that? Like
Waiting for
that
that.
sounds a lot like that.
Yeah. This is where it all adds up. And then it's just like, it takes lifetimes to uncover it because we're all working people. So it's like, I'm not going to spend 5 years on reading about Orion when I have to do astrology reading so I can pay for food. Like I just like so we get a little bit limited that way. But
Sure, there's so
yeah,
much information.
that's yeah. And then it's opposite of Orion. It's opposite of a Fucus. Then there's other information circulating that there's that other galaxy, Sagittarius Dwarf Galaxy, that's actually in that crossing and it merges. So now the question is, how much does it merge? Does it merge to the point where it touches Orion, comes back out? These are all the things that, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's going to take lifetimes to figure out, but that's possible.
Yeah, that whole Sagittarius galaxy merging is crazy because initially you think like, okay, when galaxies come together, like they're going to destroy, but then you realize that like no, galaxies are actually now back to
Yeah,
as above, so below. They're just like our bodies, where actually like most of it's empty space, and they
yeah,
can kind of move through each other without
hmm
much disturbance. A little
yeah,
bit of gravitation, and maybe time gets warped a little
hmm
bit, and you see time and speeding
yeah,
up or slowing down or whatever. Like I know you've talked about like the photon belt and things
yeah,
like that, and time can like dilate or accelerate or whatever. And it's like
yeah,
so maybe there's some of that going on too,
yeah,
and who knows?
hmm yeah, yeah. So that's where Fucus, that whole thing is merging, and I'm just like, like, but Orion is a really important. Uh, it's there's something there. I mean, and you've heard of the Orion pyramid correlation where that shaft.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I saw the shaft. I mean, there is a shaft there, and it's in the King's Chamber, and it says when that aligned, Orion, the Alnihem, which is the star right above the nebula. Then the other one in the Queen's Chamber went right to Sirius. So when those two, they locked in, boom. So that's not a coincidence either.
Yeah, no, that's one thing. I definitely don't believe in coincidences.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
such thing. Because
Yeah.
everything's interconnected. There's no coincidence. It just
Yeah.
appears as synchronicity. And I think
Yeah.
that's even one of the I think it's in the Kabbalion. They talk about how coincidence is a law yet to be disclosed, or of laws not yet described, or whatever it may be. So it's like, yeah, I don't think coincidences are a thing either. It's just something we don't have a complete understanding of. So
Mhm.
that's very, very interesting. All of that is very interesting.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about, of course, Orion near Taurus.
Mhm.
And then that starts getting me thinking about Taurus and the bull. And then it brings me back to Egypt. It makes me think of Hathor and
Mhm.
Dendera
Mhm.
and that whole ceiling in there,
Mhm.
and what's been done to that ceiling and why it was done to that ceiling.
Mhm.
And like, so what did you see there? Because you were in that, weren't you, at one point?
Yeah. I spent a lot of time in that temple. So the famous circular zodiac everyone's heard of. It's the one it's upstairs. And it's the issue with that is that when was it Napoleon that took it? I think it was, right? Whoever took it.
That sounds
Yeah.
right. I might be
Yeah.
wrong, but that sounds
So
right.
when it was taken, the whole ceiling was black because it was all sooted up. Because it's really strange. It's explained to you why the ceiling's all dark in these temples, black. It's because the occupying Arab Muslims just used the temples as like as shelter. They didn't even care. Like it's like imagine today in times today where whoever invades us just moves into the Notre Dame or something like that and just like, yeah, we're gonna just put a sleeping bag here. We'll just live here. We're gonna burn. We're gonna cook here. We're just gonna squat. That's yeah. If you go to Edfu Temple, you still see like parts of the temple that have houses there, like these shanty shacks that people live in, like mud
Wow, like
shacks that
mud
are like
brick homes.
yeah, like that's like on the temple wall. It's so strange. It's just really strange. So that's why those ceilings are dark because people were just like, yeah, we're just well, whatever, we're living here. So because they were
That's
burning
wild.
to cook. Yeah, dude, it's so crazy.
They
So
just didn't
anyway,
care. It didn't matter to them.
yeah, I was like, whatever. Like so then that the ceiling was black. So then when Napoleon, I think it's him, he cut out that zodiac. And so it was black. But then when they took it to the Louvre, they took it to Paris, they cleaned it. I think now it's cleaned and now it's up. But I forget the story when it was cleaned. But anyway, Egypt was like, hey, we want our zodiac back. And they said, no, we'll make you a replica. So instead of making a replica of the of cleaning it and then making a replica, they made a replica of it being black, dark. So they put the dark.
What is that all about?
Yeah. So
Why?
now you go there and the whole temple is clean. And then you see this dark square of the circular zodiac that's supposed to be the most famous zodiac. And it's fake. And the real one is in Paris. But it's just strange. But in any case,
Ridiculous.
you see a fucus there. You see a god on a throne right on top of, right in between Sag and Scorpio on the tail of Scorpio. Right where fucus is, you see that right there in a circular zodiac. So it's clear. They knew of a 13th sign. What's even stranger, which no one, somehow, I have no idea why no one picked this up but me. And you can even see it in the video. I did a virtual tour there. When I went to Egypt, I offered a service to all of our crew where you can join me in Egypt by video. I'll video wherever I go with the tour guides. And then every night I upload the videos and you have a video. It's like you're with me. So you can see in that video, I'm on the lower part of the Dendera temple. And the whole ceiling is clean. It's like perfect now. Beautiful. Colors are vibrant. Everything's awesome. So I'm videoing, and this is that thing you just mentioned about there is no real coincidence, kind of. So
Right.
I'm like videoing, and he's saying, okay, you're an astrologer, so let me show you the other zodiac that's downstairs. It's a full zodiac. And I'm like, no way. So he's showing me the signs, and I'm like, cool, I'm seeing Scorpio, this, that, right? And I'm not even picking it up, but you can see my camera. There's like some force that's pushing my camera because you see me talking and then you see me get distracted and talk, but the camera doesn't move. And my camera is focused on a black square on the ceiling. And I'm like, and you see me move away and I go, okay, what else? And then you see me go, but wait a second, there's something, and it's on film. I'm like, there's something more here. Come back here. I don't know why, but what's going on over here? And I go back. And then slowly it starts to get uncovered. He goes, well, with the zodiac, the Egyptians use decans. And I'm like, yeah, I don't use decans, but I do know about them. So he starts reading them off to me. And he goes, and that's the 13th decan. I said, which one? He goes, the one, clean. They didn't clean it. I said, whoa, slow down, dude. What? He goes, yeah, that right there. I said, hold on. Why isn't that clean? He goes, oh, they missed it. They'll fix it.
They missed it. What?
I'm like, look at the entire temple. All the from one side to the other is all clean. They forgot this one square. It happens to be the 13th zodiac, 13th decan. And he's like, oh. And I'm like, I doubt they're going to erect all this scaffolding to go back up there to get that one spot. So then I zoomed in more and closer and I looked. And I did some study and I understood what the solar boat was. And the front of the solar boat is what they call perception, the light, how you see through the darkness in the Amduat. Because that's what that solar boat is. You travel through the stars of the Amduat to get to the other side. So I noticed that the front of that boat was cleaned. Perfect, like zoop, and the rest was dark.
Whoa.
So then I go, well, how do you explain why they started with the front of the boat? And we know that that's perception, and that's clean, so clarity and vision, but the rest is dark. And he's like, I don't know.
Yeah, no coincidence there. Like, what is going on with that? And it makes me wonder, like, who's behind that? Like, who made those decisions and why did they decide to do that like that? Like, what's going on there? Sounds pretty deep.
Yeah, it's pretty real, man. And then there's another temple called Esna Temple, which is it's a Ptolemaic temple. It's built by one of the Ptolemies. It has a zodiac, and that ceiling, one part is beautifully clean, the other part wasn't clean. That's the part that has the zodiac. But you can see the raised parts of the zodiac, and you go through the signs. Here's Virgo, here's Leo, here's Virgo, here's Libra, here's da 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 da. You go all the way around. Here's Scorpio. Here's a big slice of the sky. We have no idea what it is. Here's Sagittarius. Here's Aquarius. Here's Capricorn. Here's Pisces. So I'm like, wait, what's that? And because we don't know what that is. So I said, and I'm talking to the Egyptologist. I'm like, need you to use a little logic here. This is clearly depicting the zodiac belt, right? Yeah. But somehow you don't know what that is right there. No, they don't tell us. Do you know what's there? That's where the 13th sign is. It's the galactic center. There's a bunch of serpents swimming around in this space that you don't know what it is. And you don't question it? No, I never thought to question it. I'm like, well, I'm here to tell you, that's the 13th sign, dude. That's the serpent bearer. And he's like, whoa.
So that makes so much sense because, again, if you think about the things that people have a natural fear of, that's been kind of conditioned into
Snakes.
society and the culture. Snakes, the number 13, like both those things.
Yeah.
There's like people have this
Mhm.
unusual type of fear associated with it. And like I myself, like I don't know if you can see this here, but like this is a
Oh
little
yeah,
serpent.
that's
I
a
always
serpent. Yeah.
I always wear that. I always wear my serpent and my little seed of life. Like
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, those and then of course my
Yeah.
5 pointer star there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I always wear those as like a reminder for me to be like that seed of life energy, to be like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
planting seeds wherever I go. And the serpent represents knowledge or wisdom. Like anywhere you go, try to plant like seeds of knowledge and
That's
wisdom.
what we do. Yeah.
And then the 5 point star for just protection of like
Yeah.
of me. So
I
kind of
got
all
that.
these symbolic things.
I got that seed of life here on, and then the fucus
Nice.
symbol on top.
Hey, there you go. Look at that. Look at
The
that.
seed of the fucus.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
I was gonna say,
But
I have slides of this stuff. I have a slideshow. I don't know if you want me to show you that of these images I was just talking about. I don't
oh
know if
yeah,
you,
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
because I have.
absolutely.
Let me show you. Yeah, because you gotta allow screen share because we're on Zoom, right? Let's see. Yeah, I totally forgot that. I queued that up in case you wanted to see it. Um,
Yeah, there we go. Looks like it's working.
okay, cool. So let's do here. Um, this is my Fucus presentation. There's so much here, but I just want to get to the Egypt scenes on the side.
So everybody watching, you can see this here, and you can see
Yeah,
Isaac's got his this all about the Ophiuchus 13 zodiac sign. If you're not watching video, maybe get onto a format where you can see video, and
yeah,
I'll have links for that and where the video version will be at too, so you can watch this and see this presentation and see what he's showing.
yeah. Let me see. How do I wanted to play this. Um, I think you can go. I forgot how are you able to do this slideshow? Let me just see something. Oh, from current slide. Let me just show you there. Yeah. Okay, you can see it now, right?
Yep, I can see that. Yep, totally.
Yeah. Here's. Can you see my mouse or no?
Yeah, I can see it. Yep.
Yeah. That's Libra. There's a Fucus on the. Let me move this thing here. Let me.
Okay, so yeah, I see that right in the middle. So it looks like there's a circle on top of looks like a table.
Yeah, that's
I'm
Libra.
guessing that's like the scale, right?
That's Libra here. This is a Fucus here, right on top of Scorpio here. You see that? This
Yep,
is
I'm
upside.
seeing that.
That's
Yeah, I see
Sag.
it. It's like inverted, but I see it
Yeah,
there.
Sagittarius,
Right.
Capricorn.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So, and it goes on. So that's the. I might have a better image here. Let me see.
And this is and where is this located?
This is the one upstairs. This is that circular zodiac. This is a nice
Oh,
photograph.
okay. So this is and this is like a actual like or like a digital version of it.
Yeah, yeah. That's Scorpio, Sag, Capricorn, Aquarius, the water bearer, Pisces, the two fish, and that's a Fucus atop of Scorpio. And then Libra and Virgo, Leo, right there.
Oh, and I
The
see
leg.
Cancer. I see the crab there.
Yep, the crab Cancer. Yep.
So now, when is this? What is the timeline for this, or like when was this supposedly put
Oh,
into there?
yeah, you caught me on a good one. I'm always bad with the exact time. But it's hey, whoever's watching it will just Google it real quick. When was the zodiac built? The temple built. I'm so bad with these dates because there's so many dates, and I'm just like BC this. I'm just like whoa, but because I'm more focused on this
The
zodiac and
astrologist,
what they show. But
sure.
I do know
But
this was
this is This is the Hathor temple,
this
right?
is the Hathor Temple of Bengal.
So we at least know that that is related to like ancient Egypt.
Yeah, but you'll hear what you'll hear is that this temple was commissioned. This particular temple was commissioned um, by the Greeks. So it's like a Greek temple built by the Greeks, but
Interesting.
with the labor of the Egyptians. So there's an interesting connection there. And maybe we'll talk about the Ptolemaic stuff too. But it was built on top of an ancient Greek temple. So that's what, when you start seeing this, that's what you see. You see that because if you start to see like the old kingdom Egyptian hieroglyphs and the building and it's really cryptic, like super cryptic. Like when they show you a lunar eclipse, it's like a pig. And it's like, what? There's one
Whoa.
thing where there's a bunch of alligators and crocodiles, and you're like, what does that mean? And no one can decipher it.
Yeah,
So what
that's
I
really
picked up,
interesting.
yeah, what I picked up on is that, and I guess we can get into it, right? So and we'll get into it more, but I'll give you a brief on what I got, is that when the Greeks came to study the Ptolemies, so a lot of times you'll see these images, and when you start reading the glyphs or the cartouches, which is telling you what pharaoh is personified or whatever, it'll be a Ptolemaic pharaoh. It'll be a Ptolemy that's dressed as Osiris.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
yeah, so I mean, and again, it goes back to what we were talking about, the Christos and the Sophia energy and the Christ. This is not one person. The Christ, when we talk about Christ, Christos, it's not like Jesus with sandals and a freaking beard and a robe. It's like, it's a man that was able to harness the energy. So this is what they're doing. They're harnessing the energy of Isis and Osiris and Hathor, and they're worshiping these primordial gods. But when you read the cartouches, it'll say Ptolemy the fourth or the fifth, and it's like, wait, what? This is what it is. So what I picked up on, and it's hard to confirm, whatever, but the Greeks actually tried to bring out the information in more of a language that will be understood during our times, which is the zodiac, creating it in a zodiac story. That's what I picked up on. So this zodiac was commissioned by the Greeks, but with the knowledge and the timing, from my understanding, is when the original Egyptian temple was built. They'll tell you what this is. So it's kind of confusing, but that's what it is. That's what it looks like now. And then this is the zodiac that's
Oh,
below.
there's that black square.
Yeah.
Yeah, why would they leave that one? And
And
what's on that one, obviously.
you see that Sagittarius right here. So it's in the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
vicinity as the galactic center in the 13th sign. It's between Sag, and you'll see Scorpio right over here too. Here's Sag, and let me move my camera. I think if I get another image, you'll see Scorpio. Probably the next one. Yeah, here you go. I'm moving my camera. My camera's right above it. But here's Scorpio right here. And here's Sag. So between
Oh,
Scorpio
yeah.
and
Okay.
Sag, 13th decan. And you see the front of the boat is clean. See, that's clean.
Yeah, why they stop there?
That's not clean here. And then they stopped it exactly right before the beginning of the other. I mean, that's a pretty clear mistake. If it's a mistake,
Yeah,
they
like
forgot to clean it.
why would they do that and stop right there at that spot? It just seems so
Yeah,
strange.
yeah, and that's a close up. You can see the clear line, boom, and the clear line, boom. So if it was a mistake, I mean, that's a pretty precise mistake. And we looked
Yeah,
up this name.
wow.
We were able to figure out what this name means.
I
It's
was
the
just gonna
name.
ask that.
Yeah, and you can see it's a serpent-headed god. It's a serpent god. So it's the name here when he deciphered it was Sepik Hanu, and you can't find any meaning of that. You Google it, there's no Sepik Hanu. It's hidden. All the other decans, when you start looking them up, you'll find everything about them. You won't find
It
anything about Sepik Hanu.
did you say it's hidden?
Yeah, you Google Sepik Hanu. Nothing.
That's wild because it reminds me of like I think of serpent, I think of wisdom, I also think of wisdom as like light, and enlightenment, and
Mm-hmm.
that wisdom comes from light.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say hidden, it's like, wait a second. I've actually heard someone say that they received a message, and this makes sense because of the meaning of Amen is means hidden.
Mm-hmm.
And the message that they received was that Amen Ra is the hidden one.
Mm-hmm. Hidden light. Yeah. 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 I mean, this is all. I mean, you have to be open when you go do things like this. Like it's just because if you're not open, you miss it. So many Egyptologists, great ones too, were like, "Oh, yeah, we've seen that. They just forgot it." And I go, "Can I share a little bit with you?" And they go, "Oh, okay, you figured something out." I'm like, yeah, what's going on? So, yeah, his Sepik Hanu, because the Egyptologist I was with was Abdel Amin. He wrote a book on Dendera Temple. And this is Sepik Hanu. Can't find him.
Interesting. So
Third,
what's in the right hand? Are they all holding the same thing, or is it something
yeah, it's like a
different?
scepter rod. It's like the rod of power. This is the Asclepius rod as well, but the scepter, it's that like so I think is it called the Wajret too? I forget if that's what it's called. But I know it's the
So
scepter. It's the
so that's the tall one in the left hand, but what about in the right hand that they're holding down low?
oh, Ankh. Those are Ankhs.
It is an Ankh. Okay.
Eternal life. Ankhs. Yeah. Yeah. Eternal life.
That's interesting. That reminds me of a lot of the pictures that you see of like even Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
with the palm
Mm-hmm.
and the uplifted,
Yeah, you notice the hands are like this,
crossing.
not like
Right,
that.
right, right.
It's peace is
Absolutely.
over. Peace. Yeah. Come in
Right,
peace. Imhotep.
right, right.
Coming here in
Interesting.
peace. Yeah, here's like all
Interesting.
this symbolism with serpents. The Egyptologist gave me a PDF, and he broke all this down for me. He broke it all down, and this is what we were looking at there. Because he wrote a book, and yeah, here's the Temple of Imhotep, and I won't get into all that. I want to just show you. I want to get into Esna Temple. Here's Esna. Oh, this might be really cool. Hang on a second. Start from current slide. Okay. So here's the PDF of Esna Temple. And you can see here the zodiac. He's going through the zodiac here. Cancer, right up here. We have Virgo here. We have Libra again. Scorpio again. We don't know what this is, man.
Look at all those snakes
Yeah. And then, oh,
and a
here's
crocodile.
Sagittarius. Here's Capricorn. Here's Aquarius. And like, go back. What is that? I don't know. We can't read this because the ceiling is still dark. Now it's clean, so we're going back there. We're going to have it deciphered for us. So here's a bigger thing. So you can see here Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, twins. Over here, right between Cancer is another nebula, the Beehive or something that is supposed to be known as another birthplace of humans. And we don't know what that is. Similar to the galactic center. We don't know what that is. But here's Cancer, here's Leo, here's Virgo, the wheat, Libra, Scorpio. We don't know what that is, but there's winged serpents. Where have we heard of winged serpents, plumed serpents? This is Quetzalcoatl. There's other two
Right,
serpents
right.
here, Fucus, right? So, but this is what that ceiling looks like when I was there, dirty like this.
Oh wow,
And you can see
wow.
Scorpio, you see Cancer, you see Leo, the lion, you see Libra right here. And then we don't know what that is. So this is more
Yeah,
image.
you can totally see that.
Yeah.
And look at that place. How amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And how high up is that ceiling there, roughly?
Oh man, gotta be 60 feet. Here's
Holy
the other
crap.
side that's completely clean. So when we go back, the side that we just saw that's dirty will look like this. Look at all these beautiful colors and images. You can see Osiris about to be resurrected. You can see Osiris in the chamber. I mean, there's like on and on and on. So yeah. So yeah.
There's a lot going on there. And
Yeah.
so obviously they were completely into studying the cosmos and studying the
Oh,
positions
dude,
of the
100%.
things in the sky.
I mean, everything has stars on it, man. Everything has stars. Yeah. I want to
And
show you.
these are the people that we look at and say, how did they do the things that they did?
Yeah.
And this is the type of stuff that they were studying and
Hmm.
sharing throughout their culture widely.
Hmm.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah. So this is something that we should probably cover. Um, ju- just so you know, like as we're doing all this, this is knowledge that like we're not necessarily supposed to be having this, but I have it, and
That's great. Mhm.
I'm in trouble because of it. It's
Everyone, you're all getting schooled here. This is
it's what?
information. Everyone's getting schooled here. This is information that
Yeah,
is
yeah,
very pertinent, but ooh, okay.
like I get like there's energetic basically technology based attacks that happen to me when I do this stuff, and it's real basic. It's real like shadow ban, uh, weird income fluctuations that happen because I'm all digital cash now. Yeah, my
Interesting.
operation is digital.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
there's weird things that so you got to prepare if we're getting
Sure.
into it.
Well, and we're recording this on a new moon, so hopefully
Yeah,
this is ushering in some new
yeah,
stuff for everybody, and then well, everything will go good from talking
and,
about
and
this and sharing this information.
yeah, and an example, like for example, I don't know if you even noticed like how our internet just slowed down. We got choppy. So this is kind of how this is this is what we experience. So um and things will happen, like things have happened where, I'm an astrologer, like I'm not a millionaire. So I need to do my readings, I need to do my courses, I need to do and there'll be a couple things that will happen to me now that all of a sudden my internet will go out in the middle of selling a big course to someone and it is just wipe out and the person won't come
Wow.
back.
Oh
Yeah.
no. Oh no. Let's not. No, none of that. But did
Yeah.
I just see a correlating angle? Is that what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
saw a little
And
glimpse of?
this is what I'm saying. This right here, when I open this up to you, we have to brace for impact because this gets strong. So I'm gonna give you a little awakening that happened to me, and it goes beyond like, and this is where the trouble starts. So prepare yourself.
I'm ready. I'm ready. I've cleansed my aura. I've
Yeah.
done my ritual. I'm ready. Hopefully,
Okay.
everyone else that's listening has done the same.
Yeah. So this is where it happened. All right. So I read a book by Mark Osborne called The Giza Prophecy, right? Is it The Giza Prophecy? Just look up Gary Osborne, I think Giza Prophecy or Giza something. And he goes into this 23.5 angle. And instantly, without knowing, I'm like, whoa, that is beyond right now. Then he shows the images of the 23.5. And basically what they're showing, let me see if I have it here and I'll open up to it. What he's showing in his book, yeah, okay, here we go. What he's showing in his book is is just how it's hidden behind the dollar bill and the pyramids, that this pyramid is angled at 23.5.
Oh yeah, look
And
at that. I've seen that before.
yeah, and let me just see. I want to try to current slide, start from current slide. So yeah, and if you read it here, it says, and this is where it gets trippy. So this is a pyramid with an eye on it, 23.5, and uh, there's 13 levels on this pyramid.
What's the chances of that again?
Yeah, and this this pyramid is also found on this lodge seal, this Freemasonic lodge seal, and look what it says. Remember what we said about the Bible, right? You have to learn the Mazzaroth. In order, you have to establish your dominion. You have to know this Mazzaroth. Look at right here, what it says here. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Svas Sadoria Novant. His own constellations have acknowledged him.
Wow. That's deep. That is deep right
23.5
there.
angle.
And
With
what
the
is
Sphinx.
what is on that Sphinx there? Is that a crescent moon in like on its side, or what
I
is
believe
that
it's a
marking?
crescent moon. But you know what got my attention when I saw this? Remember I told you when I went to the Freemason temple in DC, the head was a goddess? What's
Yes,
this?
yeah, I see that too.
This head is a goddess.
You know, and that I've heard that before. I think I might be wrong, so don't quote me on this, but I feel like it was Robert Schoch who'd been talking about
Mhm.
how the head of the Sphinx was not a lion, but it was a lioness.
Yeah,
Is their thoughts,
yeah,
which makes so much more sense because the
yeah.
lioness is actually the more powerful of the lions, anyways. Like, yes, the male is strong, but the lionesses are the ones that kind of
Hmm.
keep everything and they do the hunting and they do kind of all that. It's the lioness. Like,
Yes, the
it's
lioness.
her. Yeah.
It's Sekhmet is part of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Sekhmet. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep.
Oh, here's the Job 38, 31, 30, 32. See, canst thou bind the sweet influences of the Pleiades? So can you bind it? Or can you loosen the bands of Orion? Loosen the connection there. Loosen that connection to that place. Canst thou bring forth the Mazzaroth in his seasons? The Mazzaroth. Can you bring forth the zodiac? Canst thou guide Arcturus and his sons? Don't quite know what that means. Knowest thou the ordinance of heaven? Canst thou set the dominion thereof in the earth?
Okay. So that Arcturus with his sons, that I'm very curious about that. I'm gonna have to look into that one. But
People
that
have said
last
that
one,
people have said that the Arcturus and the Sun could relate to the Big Dipper, the Cubs,
oh,
because
okay.
yeah, if you trace the Big Dipper, you arc, when you do stargazing, arc to Arcturus, Arcturus to Spica, which is the goddess, which is Virgo. So yeah, I still, I'm open to any interpretation on that, but
Yeah, that's an interesting one. If anyone knows anything on that or done that deeper. And then that last line there, what's the chances that a line that references as above, so below
yeah.
is the 33rd verse?
Oh shit, I didn't even. Wow. Oh yeah. Oh,
Talk about a high degree right there.
I didn't even pick that
30,
one up.
33rd degree on the 33rd verse, bringing heaven to earth like as above, so
I,
below. Like, wow.
I didn't pick that up. Yeah. Holy moly. Yeah. But let me back up because this is the most okay. So these are the images I was seeing with this is what I was seeing in his book. Um this is really interesting. Oh, I'm gonna blow away. I know we were whatever. I mean I had stuff to do today, but we keep on going. Fuck it.
All good, man.
Yeah,
Whatever.
so
I'll honor your time. Whenever you need to jump out, we'll jump
yeah.
out.
So these are the images that are shared kind of in that book. I'm gonna see if I can find more because this is where you'll see these images of holding rods at 23.5 angles. Um, here's the Vitruvian man, 23.5 degree angles. Now here's something just to stay on topic. This is in Saqqara, and I don't know hieroglyphs per se, but when I started, I spent so much time there, I realized that there's no phonetic vocabulary, dictionary, whatever, for the ancient Egyptian language. There's no like, give me the, give me the encyclopedia, dictionary, whatever. Let me just decipher this. It's not because they didn't really, and I figured this out. It's telepathic.
Oh,
So
that makes sense.
it's the art, the vibration, the feelings, all of this. This is why you have to be super in tune with your energy. And I picked it up, and somebody who studied says, you're absolutely right. because when you hear it deciphered in Arabic, it doesn't feel good. So when I'm alone, I start to feel. And I said, this was in the Unas pyramid. Unas where this is the famous pyramid text in the Unas in Saqqara, Unas pyramid, the pyramid text.
Okay,
And
that makes sense. That makes sense.
I looked at this and I said, if I measure this and it's 23.5, I guarantee you this is probably going to relate to something about wisdom. Right? So then I have this app that has you can look up the Egyptian hieroglyphs and look at what this means, wise man. This, and it's mirrored, it's reverse, but it's a box with a thing that's tilted 23.5 degrees. It means wisdom, wise man, wisdom, understanding, to be wise. See? And I thought, whoa, like I'm reading hieroglyphs. I didn't get everything. It means certain things when this ibis is facing one way or the other, and I didn't get into all that. But wisdom, wise man.
Wow. So something I just caught here on that. So if you go back to that one that you're on, that one there, yeah. So all this stuff meaning wisdom. So in numerology, the number 9, like the completion, or like so many times you hear about 9, like dressed to the nines. It's like the perfection. It's when everything is known, a completion of knowledge, which would be wisdom. And if you add up those numbers to numerology, you know what you get?
What? 9?
9.
Wait, if you add 23.50 is 9? 20?
If you add all those numbers in yellow, if you add them up and go to a digital root, it's 9.
That's wild, dude. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even know that. Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm obsessed with numbers, so I'm always looking at numbers and looking for digital roots because, again, number represents like vibration and frequency. So you can see that happens all the time in things. It's amazing.
Wow. Oh, wow. Yeah, this is beyond. I want to show you some more stuff. This is getting like beyond. Let me just see something here. There's a lot here. Oh yeah, so let's see here. So a lot of his book, the Gary Osborne book, it's talking about how 23.5 will be seen hidden in artwork primarily around the Freemasons and Knights Templar, and also the ancient religious paintings will have someone holding a rod or something at 23.5, and it just means that they've been initiated to the wisdom school. That's where Gary Osborne left it. And I want to see if he has more images, because something to me is like, okay, we have George Washington holding a rod. All right. And it means that he's part of a secret society and knows ancient wisdom. I mean, that's cool. But what's in that ancient wisdom that's so secretive that we're not supposed to know? So I'm just looking for more images. Maybe I bypassed that. Okay, so let's start where I'm going to show you. So anyway, I'm looking and I'm like, okay, what's the big deal of George Washington holding the rod? And this Archangel Michael, I'm going to show you that one. He's slaying a dragon. The rod is 23.5. That means he was an initiate of the mystery school. Okay, he knew about what? Right? Oh, that's because they knew about that's the story. Oh, even Neil deGrasse Tyson told me this. I shared something with him, and I'm friends with him, right? I'm really good friends with his brother.
Yeah, right.
So I shared something with him, and he was like, "If it's not peer reviewed, I don't want to talk to you." And I said, "Dude, I thought you were open to spirit science, but never mind."
Yeah, that sounds like Council of Nicaea stuff.
Huh?
That sounds like the Council of Nicaea is like the new. That's like the peer review is the new Council of Nicaea. Like,
oh yeah, I'm just like,
what goes in.
I'm like, you know what peer review is? I said, in spirit science, you know what our peer review is? Is we take ourselves out there and we have the experience for ourselves, and then we talk to each other about our experience. That's peer review, and everybody's experience could be different, but it's for them. It's true. And I said, when
Totally.
you're ready to raise up your consciousness, you know where I'm at. I'm friends with your brother. Call me up. So I kind of dissed him.
Right on. I
So
love
anyway,
it.
he goes, oh, and when he goes, and to go into your thing about the mysteries of 23.5, this is simply the knowledge of the obliquity of the earth. This is what they were showing in their artwork. And I'm like, okay, it's not just the obliquity of the earth, dude.
No, this it sounds
Show
like
you
there's so
why.
much more to it.
I'm going to show you some stuff. And then how the obliquity of the earth plays into it. Okay, so here's what happened. So I'm going through the temples, and this is in Karnak, and I see this Ankh symbol. And then what happens is I see this one to the right with this little, I think this is called, is this called the loop? I forget what this is called, but you can see here, this is when you do the angle, you do that. And again, it's mirrored. So it's as if it was drawn from the inside. You notice how this one goes this way and this one goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm here and I'm going, okay. And again, I'm learning as I go, and not a I'm not a real scientist. I'm just like I'm figuring out the laws of the universe through astrology. That's my game. And so I know for sure I couldn't take this picture and measure it because it was on a cylinder. So I go and I find another one that's flat, and I try to take a straight on edge photograph. And this image it's everywhere. Pretty much every everything that you see is ended with this, which means the gift of eternal life, the bread of eternal life. Because this image is supposed to mean the gift of bread. That's how it was explained.
Interesting. Interesting.
And we know Ankh is eternal life. And I said, the hieroglyph was speaking to me, and I said, this is way more than that. If I take a picture of this and it's 23.5 degrees, this is going to be the gift of knowledge to attain eternal life. That's
Yeah.
what it's going to mean. So I
Wow.
snapped the shot and measured it, and it's 23.5. So I said,
Yeah, no coincidence there.
yeah, that's what it means. So then I'm like, all right, cool, got this. What does it mean? What? And I'm still in that space of like, but what does it all mean? So it wasn't until I made a mistake and I booked the wrong trip, leaving leaving Cairo, Giza to go to Luxor. So then I had a hotel right where Robert Duvall stayed. The Sphinx Guest House was literally right a stone's throw away from the Sphinx. Like we were here, and the Sphinx entrance is right across the street, and the Great Pyramids right across the street. So that's where we're staying. So the hotel owner, we became really good friends. Um, and he goes, "Oh, you missed your flight, but all the rooms are booked. But I got one room, and it's upstairs, but it's where the restaurant is. So you're gonna hear the restaurant all night. So you're gonna open your door, and it's gonna be on the balcony where the restaurant is." And I'm like, "Fuck it, put me there." So he puts me there, and I'm kind of frustrated because I mean, you ever hear Egyptian dance music? It's really tacky, man. It's really tacky. So I'm
That's
sitting there
fun.
till like 1 in the morning. But I wake up and I'm looking at the Sphinx. This is from the room. This is my view from the room. I zoomed in, of course, and I didn't get a good thing of the angles, but I just picked my 3 points. And I said, if these 3 points add up to 23.5, this is going to be crazy. Because what I noticed, no one talks about, and I further investigated, and it's true. This is the causeway of the Sphinx. So when people are walking here and looking at the Sphinx, this is where they're standing. And obviously,
Right.
this
Yep.
Sphinx is facing due east.
Sure.
But then this causeway is also facing east.
Right.
So I said,
Yep.
these 2 points are separated by an angle of 23.5, and it's 23.52. And I measure it with my finger on a phone, so it's not the most accurate, but that's pretty close, 23.52.
Right.
I said,
Right.
no way. That's the reason why I got stuck, because I was supposed to see this. So I took the picture and measured. Then I went ahead and I found overhead views, because I was told you got to do an overhead straight on view to get that measurement.
Sure, that makes sense. Change the perspective so you can get
Yep.
it.
So boom, there you go. I got the perspective. Here's the causeway. Here's the Sphinx left paw. Boom, 23.5. And another photograph, overhead perspective. Causeway, 23.5. Right here. So I thought,
Wow,
oh,
look at that.
that's rain coming. Let me close down. Hold on 1 second. I got a lot of rain coming. Give me a second.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Big. Yeah, it's the hurricane is kind of coming this way.
What's the chances that that rain started as you start talking about this?
Say it again.
What's the chances that that rain started as you start talking about this?
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly right. It's just coming down, yeah. So anyway, so that's that, and I measured that, and like, whoa, and then I start to go like, okay, then I got to start working now. So then I go into Luxor, and this is in the Valley of the Kings. I'm forgetting this Ramses the first or the second, but this is the scene where, and I might have a bigger photo when we go on. This is the scene where he's in the underworld, and what's interesting is that this serpent is coiled 12 times, and it's in between a ramp. I might have it. Let me see. It's in between a ramp that has 6 deities on either side. Maybe I'm not going to find it now. I might find it on the other one. But the 6 deities on either side, and then there's 12 coils in the middle. That's literally like where a fucus would be, which is the serpent bearer.
Yeah, say that sounds like a familiar picture I've seen before in the
Yeah,
sky.
yeah, I have it. Yeah. So then this is known when they're reading off the hieroglyphs. This is known as the pharaoh in the underworld, the Amduat, fighting off, stopping the serpent of chaos. That's what this is called. So the serpent of chaos is represented by 12 coils. What else do we know? That's 12. The 12 zodiac signs.
Right, right.
13th is the one that can stop the chaos of the serpent energy, the power, the knowledge. So here he has a rod that he puts in front of the serpent and stops it. Measure the rod to his left foot, which is, again, remember that left foot is that feminine foot.
Right. Yep.
Left toe
Absolutely.
up to his hand, down to right where that rod hits, 23.5.
Yeah, look at that angle. It's right
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. So then you go the Jed pillar, 23.5. That's the raising of the Jed. So it's at 23.5. And it's a power antenna. Then I went and I don't know how accurate this is, but I was messing around with the light bulb of Dendera. I put it against here. I got some angles out of that. Here's Osiris. These are all 23.5 here with his scepter and flail. And it just keeps on going. Now here's where it gets really, really interesting. I was in Abu Simbel. Remember I told you everything started in Abu Simbel, right?
Right, right. I was just thinking about that area actually.
So check this out now. So I'm on my 23.5 trip at this point, right? And I'm looking at this image, and I'm going, and it's been read to me like, Ramses first or second. Again, you know how I'm bad with the numbers and stuff. So Ramses first, second, whatever is smiting his enemies. The foreigners are coming. The ignorant foreigners are coming into the land, and they use this word which caught my attention. He is purifying the temple of these ignorant foreigners, and he's smiting them, and it's all this war stuff. Here's the blade to chop their heads off. Here's the smite to, here's the rod that goes into their heads to smite. And so it's all this negative warlike stuff. And I'm like, I measured it. I said, these guys look kind of peaceful. I'll show you close-up images. I'm like, these guys look kind of peaceful. You sure about this? He goes, yeah. And these guys are kind of like, take me, they look like. And I measured the rod that's going into their head, knowledge. It's 23.5 that he's hitting into their head, right? So then I go closer, I look at the bottom rod, and I'm saying, oh, there's a weird line here. These two lines that connect as above, so below. That's also 23.5. Oh, but that's his bow and arrow. That's not a bow. That does not look like a bow, and it's 23.5.
No, wow.
Check it out.
That's wild.
I have close-ups of this. Look at this hand here. All these hands are in a mudra like this.
Totally. Absolutely.
Right? And then this guy looks, all these guys look super blissful and peaceful. Here's more. If you look over here, this hand, so this side, they all have the mudras like this. Right, this one has the feather of Ma'at, which is peace, right? On this hand. Then if you notice the leg, if you're smiting an enemy, you want to pin down their leg. Here, the so-called enemy has his leg over the foot of Ramses. So I'm like, this is not a capture. This is a divine surrender. Because these people look so missed out.
It almost looks like a transfer of knowledge in a way.
Yeah, I'm going to show it to you. Yeah. Yeah, so you can see the mudra is a close-up of it. Here's the mudra here. Here's the Ma'at feather, the mudra. They have their hands on their knees. No one's fighting. They're doing mudra. Okay. And then
it looks like ritual.
Yeah. So I looked up this mudra. This is the Apana mudra. Any foreign matter in the body gets thrown out and the body is purified.
The purification.
Purification. Throwing out foreign negative entities from the mind, purifying the temple of the mind, the body. That's what I saw. So I'm explaining this. Then the sword, the cutting of the sword, right? This is something. So what we see, the depiction is we see heads. Okay, you notice here we see severed heads that are being held, and then there's one head of a blissful person that's receiving, right? Knowledge or removal of activity. Okay, so then I'm explaining this to the Egyptologist, which I'm like, do you know about any other ancient stories with the sword, with the knife? Because here's the knife. Well, here you go. When you first saw this image, you were scared out of your wits, probably, right? And you learn about it, and you realize this is the most beautiful image you can see. This is Kali slaying your ego, removing your ego, which is why all the heads are your ego. And here's this blissful person. I think it's Shiva, right? That's laying down, being blissfully surrendering to the blissful removal of the ego. And here are the heads.
Look at that. That's totally the same symbolic image going on.
And here's the blade. That blade that we saw that they were holding up. Right? So I wrote this down. This is the 23.5, right? It's all related to 23.5. Now what this is now it makes perfect sense when they go to Abu Simbel. This was the beginning of the initiation of the journey. So first you come here, we remove, purify you, and then you start your initiation journey down the Nile. This is it, right? And the 23.5, what does it represent? They say, oh, it's the obliquity of the earth. Keep on going. What else does it represent? The obliquity of the earth, the tilt of the earth.
Yeah, that's totally the tilt.
Right?
Yeah, that's the degree of the Tropic of Capricorn, the Tropic of Cancer at 23.5
Exactly right.
degrees. Yeah, that's the tilt.
That's the tilt. And what does it show you on the ecliptic? The tilt with the ecliptic shows you what? The zodiac belt, the
Totally
Mazareth.
shows you. Totally. And to know, and you're supposed to know that.
Yeah.
Totally.
So that's the secret of 23.5. It's not, oh, they know the obliquity of Earth. No, the obliquity of Earth is going to point you to the zodiac. Then you're going to learn the zodiac, right? And then you're going to be able to establish your dominion on Earth so you're not being controlled by the zodiac. Because Atum created the zodiac, which is a Dyson sphere, to control you and to manage you. So now you have to loosen the binds of this and get out of the trap of the chaos, the serpents of chaos of the 12 zodiac signs. The 13th zodiac sign is removed from that. This is why it's a mystery and it's hidden, because you're not supposed to know this.
Wow, that is
Right?
wild. And then that again, that makes me think of like the hidden one. Like that's the wisdom, the hidden one, the Amun Ra, the hidden one. Like you're
Hidden one.
supposed to find that. You're supposed to
Yeah.
find that and come to an understanding of it and to know it. And all this 23.5 and the tilt and all that and them figuring that out and knowing that and tying it to that and seeing that makes me think of again numbers, and then it makes me think of geometry. It makes me think of sacred geometry and why all that sacred geometry was so within all the Freemason stuff. Like it's all on this sacred geometry, which was them basically like knowing these secrets and way to find that hidden one.
Yeah. Yeah. This is what it is. Yeah. The hidden one, which is related to your divinity. You are the hidden one.
Yeah, that is wild. It all like you were saying earlier, everything is connected, everything is one thing, like there is no disconnect. It's just finding your way back to that connection.
Yeah.
That's wild.
It's really wild. Yeah. I want to try to see if I can find that other image of that serpent of chaos, because it's amazing when it might be in my Fucus presentation, because that when you see that, it's like it's a clear image of slaying of the dragon, slaying of the serpent.
I gotta say, if anyone's listening to this and hasn't been watching the video version, you might want to go back to like halfway through and restart so you can see all these images, because it really ties into it and it makes so much sense when you see it versus just hearing it. You're gonna want to watch it and see that image, all these different images. It's amazing.
Oh, I don't have it in this one. Oh, bummer. Yeah, it's gonna be too much to find. I thought I did. Oh, I do have it here actually. Hold on. Hold on.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's right here. Well, oh no, this is another one. Oh, this is another one. Wow, this was the one on the other side. This is 6 deities on one side, and then 12 coils here and 8 here. 8 represents the Scorpio, which is the fall, and the 12 represents the serpent of chaos. And these are 6 goddesses on each side on top of the mounds of primordial water. So this to me is a depiction of the zodiac, and in the middle is the serpent of chaos that you have to harness.
So I'm not seeing that one yet. You might have to reshare.
Sorry. Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah. Hang on. I have to give me a second. There we go. Yeah. Are you there now?
Yeah, there we go. Now it's starting to share.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Now I see it.
Yeah, so image should show up here on current slide. Yeah, so here is 12 coils on this side, 8 on this side. So 12, I feel like it represents the 12 zodiac signs. 8 represents the because the fall, if you look at the scene of Ma'at, the Hall of Two Truths, you fall into the crocodile-headed baboon, which is represented by Scorpio, 8th house. So you fall into the serpent
Ah.
gate, and then you got to go through the fire.
Oh.
Then you get to the other side.
Okay, so now coming up on that other side, is it showing any zodiac signs there, or
No,
it's just
this is old. This is old, so this is where it's cryptic, where they won't show you zodiac signs, and you have to figure it
okay?
out. This is what I'm
That
saying.
makes
I'm looking
sense.
at it, and I'm like, this is a zodiac scene. This is a because this is called in the underworld. You see the astronomical ceiling on this right side and the left side.
Right,
They
right.
call this the Duat, and this is the pharaoh's journey through the Duat, which is the underworld, which is also called the Sea of Stars, which is pretty much heaven. So this is the Duat. This is their journey through the Duat. So it's cryptic. Um, but if you know what the Duat is the stars. So if you're journeying through the stars and you start seeing symbolism of 12s and 8s and 6s, then you're looking at a zodiac situation here. But most people won't know that, right? This is how the Egyptians hid their knowledge.
Yeah, totally. And it makes me think also that it's maybe obviously it's like pre Western or Greek
Yeah, it's
influence.
pre-Ptolemaic. Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah, totally makes sense.
here's that Imhotep image. You might see it better here. Hang on. Here's the Imhotep image I was talking about. You see it goes here, then it goes up, down. See here, a better here, a little hump, almost like the symbol of
Oh
Libra.
yeah. Yeah, I see that now. I totally see
That's
that.
that image that I was talking about, that
Oh
the
wow.
symbolism of Hotep is on the pyramid in the gradient color formation. And here's the hieroglyphs for Hotep, Hotep, peace. See?
Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And you look
And
at
that's so that looks a lot like Libra in
yeah,
a basic rudimentary form, kind of the
balance.
balance.
This is
Yeah.
another depiction of the Hotep, the peace offering table. So yeah. Um, yeah, that's me looking at the step pyramid from a
Oh, that's the
distance.
bent pyramid. Sure, yeah.
Yeah. The bent pyramid is here. Yeah, I did that one. And then here's me sitting in this place that no one is allowed. The Egyptologist took me, and I was viewing the step pyramid from a distance. It was so amazing. So yeah,
That is amazing. That's
yeah,
just amazing.
yeah.
That it looks just like my neck of the woods here in Arizona without the pyramids.
Oh, it gets hot. Yeah,
Totally desert. Totally desert.
yeah. It is hot there. In May, it was like 100 and change. Yeah, yeah. But we're going back in October.
Nice. That's the time to go. Is that
Yep.
kind of late, early fall?
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Sweet man. So I should start wrapping this up soon because I got there's a
Absolutely.
hurricane blowing through where I'm at. It's a tropical storm, but it's gonna pick up to hurricane
Yeah,
speed.
I've been kind of watching that. It looks like it could definitely turn into something. So hopefully you stay safe there and
Yeah, yeah,
don't
yeah.
have
I
to
can
deal with
feel the
any of
wind.
that.
Yeah,
Right, right.
yeah,
Yeah, man, I really, really appreciate it. That was
yeah.
exactly kind of what I was hoping we'd get into is a lot of that stuff, and that just worked out perfect. And even
Sweet
some of the stuff
man.
we got into that we weren't even planning on necessarily getting into,
Yeah,
everything came out
yeah.
that's supposed to come out because it seems to be that that's just how things work. So I very
Beautiful.
much appreciate it, man. And we'll go deeper into some of this stuff here and go
Yeah,
deeper
no
into the
problem.
Ophiuchus energies and the future and definitely looking forward to doing this again. So
Yeah,
if you're open to it, we'll keep doing this and keep
yeah.
laying
Keep
this
me in the
information
loop.
on people. Yep,
Yeah,
and keep waking people up, hitting them with
doing
more
it.
truth.
Many thanks to Captain Ike for hitting us with some deep knowledge today. Join me next week as we continue to dive deep into the mysteries of the universe and explore the knowledge that this great awakening is manifesting into the collective consciousness. Be sure to check the links in the show notes and follow Ike and myself on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. To see the images from this episode, check out the Facebook page Pluto and Capricorn. Please share this episode with anybody you think could benefit from the information being shared with you. Pluto represents transformation, and things are sure changing right now. Thank you again, and have a great day.